Friday, October 25th, 2013. This is the Basement Observation. We are on the road tonight. We were remote. This is Corey. I'm very excited to have you back. And if you're new, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I want to take a minute quickly to just let you know that we are not in the basement tonight. We are actually out and about in the real world, which is exciting for me. If you're 26 doing a radio show from your parents' basement, just having the opportunity to leave is exciting. So I want to take a minute to bring in our new guest. This is Justin. We're actually broadcasting from Justin's living room tonight, and he just redesigned his living room. It's fantastic looking. If you look out among it, there's a huge wide open space, and we are baking right now from the heat. The heat is on. It's hot. It's the end of October, and it's getting cold outside. With that being said, Justin, welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
Justin's excited to be here. It's taking him a minute to get used to the mic. We're using some pretty high-grade technology tonight, you have to say.
Top of the line.
We got the TV tray out. We got the computer and microphone sitting up on it. And my hands are sticky and they're sweaty, but there's beer, so we're all right. So, Justin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Calms the nerves.
Why don't you just give it a little background so everyone can know just a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Name's Justin. I've known Corey, feels like all my life. Grew up with him for probably about 7th grade.
7th grade.
And that's where the history begins, and it's been going strong ever since. Good friends, good sport.
Good sports, absolutely. Yeah. Justin, what are your favorite sports? Rank your top three.
Definitely NBA, NFL, baseball.
Exactly. Me and Justin are pretty much in the same token with that. In case you've forgotten, my background's Philadelphia, so straight across you got the Sixers, the Flyers, the Eagles, the Phillies, and then being a Temple alum is Temple. Justin, why don't you just do a quick rundown for everyone here? What are your favorite teams?
I'm a little bit over the place.
That's true. We call it bandwagoning.
I wouldn't call it bandwagoning because all my teams are pretty terrible.
Yeah. We call that bad bandwagoning. There's a difference.
I am a NBA Washington Wizards fan. Started following them right when Jordan played with him in his 3rd stint in the NBA.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. Everyone makes fun of it, but I being a Jordan fan, I do think at the age of 40 he played pretty well.
Most people had starter jackets that were Bulls themed. Justin had the Washington Wizards one, so we respect that. We respect that here.
And even when he left, I've been following him ever since. I go to a game every year.
Go to a game?
I try to go to a game or two.
I thought it was multiple games. Don't lie. It's definitely
the last 2 years I've gone to one game.
It's only one game the last 2 years.
Hit a rough patch in 2010.
Are you saying you didn't go because the team struggled?
No, I didn't go because of the team idiots.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I can name JaVale McGee, Andre Blatch, Nick Young. 3 reasons I did not go to Wizards games.
Wasn't Javaris Crittenton a part of that?
Yes, he was. He actually, after the gun incident, he never played. Never saw the NBA court again.
Actually, it's neither really to Gilbert Arenas, and I just saw recently that Gilbert Arenas' contract was named the worst contract in the history of the NBA.
The guy was injured. We gave him $120 million.
I thought 100.
6 years, $111 million.
6 years, $111 million. That's right. 6 years, $111 million. But this is a funny story. Me and Justin kind of got a little separated during our college years, but we did run into each other one night in Philadelphia. Justin, I don't know if you remember that night, but it was a pretty enjoyable night.
Game 3, Pistons Sixers.
That's right. Game 3, Pistons Sixers.
I think took a 2-1 lead.
They did.
They ended up losing the series overall, but that was. Is it the Wells Fargo?
Yeah, it was Wells Fargo.
It was rocking. That was...
Yeah, it was rocking. I was actually down in the front row there. I had some Jewish businessmen that I ended up sitting near. We had a grand time, and we were able to see Rasheed Wallace up close and personal, which I think we all enjoyed.
I had lower box seats.
Yeah, Justin was living the high life that night. I was using...
I got invited at that. I was actually at college, and I got an invite from my buddy, and I literally had 2 classes left, and I just left, drove home. Met up with them, went to the game, and it was a great time.
Yeah, it was easy. You
can definitely tell Philadelphia fans are very passionate about their sports.
Yeah, that's true. That is true, good or bad. So that's Justin. So we're excited to be here. So real quick, let's just catch up on kind of the headlines here. And I think the major headline we want to talk about right now is the World Series. Just briefly, now it's 1-1. And we had the Red Sox came out 8-1 in Game 1. The Cardinals came back 4-2 yesterday. And I don't know if you saw it or not, Justin, but if you didn't, it was really fielding errors by the Red Sox. You had a third of the plate, their sacrifice fly, third of the plate. The catcher didn't come off the plate. He tried to make the out, and then the pitcher throwing the ball in the infield. And I know you only maybe played baseball until about age 9 or 10.
I've been playing softball.
Yeah,
Softball league.
Justin has been hitting the softball leagues hard.
The last 3 years.
Yeah, what happens in a softball league if you start?
Definitely stays in a softball league.
Yeah, if you start throwing the ball around in a softball league, what happens?
Run score.
Yeah, run scoring. And, it's funny that something as simple as a softball players know cost the Red Sox, really cost them dearly last night in the series. David Ortiz had another home run. That's incredible. I think he has to have 5, 6, 7 RBIs just off home runs.
I would say David Ortiz.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most clutch World Series performers.
Yeah.
In our lifetime.
Yeah, I definitely.
That guy comes to the plate and he is clutch.
Well, let's actually take a look here. How clutch David Ortiz is.
And did you know before last night the Red Sox had won 9 straight World Series games?
Yeah, I did know that.
I think that's a crazy stat.
That's an incredible stat. Well, they had swept 2 World Series.
Cardinals and the Rockies.
Yeah, they swept the Rockies in 2007
and the Cardinals in
2004. So, yeah, it is incredible they hadn't lost.
They came close to 10. There was 2-0 and 2-1 in the 7th.
Yes. Yeah, 2-1 in the 7th, and that's when things went awry. But if you, going back to David Ortiz, it is incredible. Right now, if we look at, just in the World Series, he has 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. Just in this World Series.
He got robbed of a grand slam.
And he got robbed of a grand slam. That would have been his 2nd grand slam of the postseason. So, he had 103 RBIs and 30 home runs in a regular season. I mean, that's pretty staggering numbers.
Very, very good stats.
Yeah. But no, don't forget Carlos Beltran had a key RBI as well.
And he was the one who robbed the grand slam.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and then he had the bruised ribs, and he left game 1.
Played game 2. And
you can imagine if it was 8-1 in game 1 with a robbed grand slam. Just imagine how out of control it would have been. So that game's tomorrow night. It comes on at 7:30 on Fox. And you got Jake Peavy for Boston going against Joe Kelly of St. Louis. So it's going to be crucial.
This is some of the best pitching you've seen in a World Series.
It is, and then you have Game 4. Now that's Sunday, and that's also the Cardinals have 3 games in a row now. They got 2, 3, and they got 3, 4, and 5 at home. And the only other league that did this was the NBA, but they switched. They just switched.
Unanimous vote.
And we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. We'll get to that a little bit later in what we're talking about here. But tomorrow night is Game 3. It's 1-1. That's crucial. But really, Game 4 is going to be a crucial game because you're going to have someone up 2-1. Yep. And if you have St. Louis up 2-1, if they win Game 3 tomorrow night, which I think they have a legitimate chance to because they're back home and they just had a big win. I mean, if you are Boston and you lose Game 4, then all of a sudden you're down 3-1 and you're playing on Monday night to bring the series back to Boston. But in the same respect, if St. Louis loses tomorrow night, then Game 4 is an absolute must win. Because if they don't win Game 4, then they have to win the World Series on the road.
In Boston.
Yeah. And well, actually, regardless, they would have to win the World Series on the road if they don't win the next 3. But if they lose Game 3, then they have to win Game 4. Because if they lose Game 4, they're gonna have to win 2 out of their last 3 on the road.
Right.
And that's difficult. So they actually have a to be determined. St. Louis is pitching for Sunday, hasn't been determined yet, but Boston's going to go with Buchholz. St. Louis is to be determined. There was rumors, or there was at least the discussion in Game 1 when Wainwright, who's St. Louis's ace, was just getting blitzed, take him out early so that we could play him in Game 4. Yeah, save him for Game 4.
A pivotal game.
Yeah, it's going to be a pivotal game regardless. Yeah. So I really think that that's going to be to determined. I think that if St. Louis would win tomorrow night, you're not going to see Wainwright on Sunday because then you got the day's rest. They can bring him back Game 5 on full rest.
Can I tell you who really impressed me in this series?
Who's impressed you so far?
Waka Waka Waka.
Of course.
I'm telling you, dude. It was. I'm a Washington Nationals fan as well.
Oh my goodness, you are all over the place. At least that's a little more legitimate.
Washington Wizards, Washington Nationals.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's look at the stats real quick. He pitched 6 innings. He gave up 3 hits. He had 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. So not
since
bad.
That last game of the season against my Nationals. He's been unbelievable. My Nationals. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost threw a perfect game.
That's true. And then they got Rosensteel, who really only pitched in the postseason last year. I think 7 times, and then back again this year as the closer for them. So regardless,
he's been pitching well.
He has been pitching well. He absolutely has been pitching well. That's for sure. So regardless, the next 2 games are extremely crucial. And then by this time next week, we'll have a World Series champion.
Yes, we will.
And, that means that we'll come to the end with baseball. But, that always leads me to talk about just a couple things here. One, it means that it's getting colder out.
Yes, sir.
Which means that it's chilly.
Yeah.
Which means that you have to turn the heat on.
Yeah.
And my hands are still a little clammy right now, but that's all right. What else does it mean when baseball season ends?
Basketball season begins.
Basketball season is going to begin. But before we get to basketball, I know we're excited. We've got the NBA coming up on Tuesday night.
Yes, sir.
We got some excellent games. We got the Lakers at the Clippers. We got the Heat and the Bulls. But before we get to that, let's look at the NFL real quick.
Everybody loves the NFL.
Yeah, the NFL, and that's actually been the big thing is even, as good as the baseball series is, its ratings never seem to match the NFL. I think that
which is embarrassing because the Thursday night game was a snoozer.
Not if you have Vincent Jackson and you were hoping for a late touchdown and struggling with Mike Glennon's inability to get him the ball. But since we're on Tampa Bay, let's talk about this whole crisis at Tampa Bay, Justin. Just real quick, this is the background, and I'm sure everybody is familiar with this. But you have Greg Schiano, who is the coach at Rutgers, and I think that this is his second season.
Second season, I think.
His second or third season.
I think you're right. No, it was his second season.
Yeah, it's his second season. Yeah, it's second season. Coaching, and it's just not gone well. I mean, we're looking at 0-7, and there's just nothing positive.
And it really seems to be
they're lifeless.
It's like nothing.
They're lifeless. I mean, they got Darrelle Revis, on the off season, and Darrelle Revis is known as a man-to-man cornerback. Shutdown corner. Revis Island. And they're not playing man-to-man.
I mean, if you look like...
They're playing zone defenses. But even outside of that, it just seems concerning that you get a personnel... I mean, the Eagles had this problem. When the Eagles got Nomni Osmaw, it was the same idea. They were going to have him... You were going to shut off one side of the field. But then they had him in cover 2, cover 3. They had him playing safety. Yeah. They had him blitzing. They just had all kinds of things. They didn't use his ability. They didn't use what he was good at. And it became very frustrating. And this whole Schiano thing is just a disaster.
There are no bright spots on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That's not true. Vincent Jackson is a bright spot, and Glennon is a bright spot. I think Glennon's going to be good.
Struggling to get the ball, but he's a rookie. I'm just saying, not a lot of hope on this team.
On an 0-7 team.
Not a lot of hope for this team.
But my thing is...
At least the Jags have Justin Blackwood.
Of all the people, Papa was thinking today, and his idea was that the Bucs won't fire Schiano to ensure a winless season or a very, very poor season for a high draft pick. What do you think of the possibility of keeping a coach in place that is not your coach for the future solely to keep your team divided, to gather one draft pick? I don't know what I think about that, but then I thought the Bucs would have fired Schiano by noon today, and Greg Schiano is still coaching Tampa Bay, which likens me to Eddie Jordan still being employed in professional basketball. So, I mean, I think you've seen everything.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a great point, great take. Let's quickly talk about, we have an unnamed Bucs player from last year. And I love unnamed sources in the locker room. If there isn't anything better than an unnamed source, you have to let me know what it is. But we have an unnamed source linking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers football team under Greg Schiano to Cuba. Now, obviously, they're...
It's a bit far-fetched. I mean, it's a bit...
I mean, maybe they don't like the way they're being treated, but to Lincoln being a professional football player to a Cuban citizen, I think is a little absurd. And actually, Justin, we have some stats here to back this up. The average Cuban survives on $20 a month, $20 US a month,
which is amazing.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that it's even that high. I thought it would be 3 or 4, but they have had small advances ever since Rules taking over for Fidel, just to get your current events updated. Just to put that in perspective, the league minimum for a rookie NFL player is $405,000 a year. Now, if we take that and divide it by 12 to just give us a focus here, it's $33,000 a month. That's a little bit more.
It's a little more than your average person brings home, even in America.
Well, I think that there are many Americans who would...
Making $425,000 a year.
Yeah, I don't think there's many making that. I don't think there's too many that that live off of $33,000 a month. To make it even more in perspective, to put it into more perspective, a practice squad player, $6,000 a week. Now that means $24,000 a month if we multiply that by 4. Again, so the guy who holds the clipboard in street clothes on Sunday
and gets beat up
during the week is still making $6,000 a week, which is way more than $20 a month. So yeah, Graciano probably needs to go, but linking in Cuba, I think is a bit of an outrageous ploy. Staying in the struggles of the NFL, let's transfer over to our other fun
0-7 team.
The 0-7 team, which is the 0-7 Jaguars. And I feel bad because as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, I will still go on record saying I wanted Gus Bradley as the coach, and I feel that they have nothing. I feel like they have nothing to work with.
He was what he did in Seattle with that defense.
It's incredible.
Oh yeah, my goodness! And they're still playing well. I mean, I really like Gus Bradley. Like, if I could have had him as a coach of my team, I would have been ecstatic. But, these aren't his players. Your rookies aren't going to be coming around. Yeah, Justin Blackman's at least giving a little hope to them.
And they missed Justin Blackman for the first quarter of the season.
And, I mean, they're going quarterback. They're going to have their quarterback of the future. Hopefully he's not a bust.
Yeah, which they seem to have struggled with. I mean, playing Gabbert, let's be honest.
Yeah, which is... I wanted him as my quarterback when that draft happened. Tennessee Titans fan. I don't know if I mentioned that. That's my weird team.
Yeah. So that's another one of these. We're staying in topic here, but
but anyway,
we got.
I wanted Blaine Gabbert. We ended up getting Jake Locker, which I've been very happy with. And,
you're going back and forth between Chad Henne and Blaine Gabbert, and they combined have 3 touchdown passes.
They haven't scored at home all season. A touchdown.
Yeah,
they haven't scored a touchdown at home all season.
They have combined for 3 touchdowns, and they've combined for 12 interceptions. I mean,
it's embarrassing.
The quarterback rating combined is just over 100. So if you take them together and combine their rating, it's 72, 73, basically, and 36. So, I mean, if this combined, the leading rushers, Maurice Jones-Drew, he has 316 yards.
He's fallen off.
Yeah, he has. Their rushers combined have 3 touchdowns on the year. So between their quarterbacks and their rushers, they have a miserable 6 year touchdowns. In Jacksonville. They don't have a single receiver that has more than 1 touchdown. Cecil Shorts is their leading receiver. And then after Cecil Shorts and Justin Blackman, the names I don't even recognize. See Clay Harbor down there. But do you know, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, there were so many injuries that they were using practice squad players on the first team.
Oh my goodness.
They had to bring them up. We actually had to activate them for game day. We're not there on the first team. They activated them for game day, and they were using like equipment managers and support staff as practice squad players during the week.
And they wonder,
Yeah, and so people that want to criticize Gus Bradley, that's really, criticizing, the person.
He needs to handpick his quarterback next year's draft, and we'll see where he goes from there.
Yeah, you're picking on a defenseless person because there's really nothing Gus Bradley can do
with the team that he
has.
Now, let's see, like, this scenario. We have had the 0-16 Detroit Lions.
Oh, that's right.
What happens if we have the 0-16 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 0-16 Jacksonville Jaguars, and you could lose out on the number 1 pick on a coin toss?
Well, I don't know. I guess the NFL would probably be happy with that. I guess the tyrant, Roger Goodell, who likes to control everything, would probably find a way to use this as an example to encourage not tanking. And I don't really think it's a case of tanking. I think Tampa Bay is just in such disarray.
Oh yeah.
But you have to think, and I still believe this. You have to think that these are NFL caliber players. They're paid professionals. I don't think we're going to know because I think they're both going to win 1 or 2 games.
I think so too.
I just don't think that it's possible I just don't think that it's possible
for 2 teams
to go 0-16.
But wouldn't you be upset if you're the owner, man? You go 0-16, you don't even get the joy of like the number 1 pick.
Yeah, if we're looking, I'm looking at the Jaguars schedule. At the 49ers this weekend, so that's out the window. Titans next weekend, which I think is always a toss-up.
It's an individual game.
Browns, Texans, Bills. I mean, there's some.
They could beat the Browns.
Yeah, there's got to be a win in there.
The Bills aren't, they're...
And Tampa Bay, I don't even know if it matters. If you look at the schedule, I think it's just going to be the concept of they're going to play a team at some point where Tampa Bay it's all going to click.
Yep.
It's all going to click, and they're going to get a win. Now, it doesn't look like that right now after that lifeless performance they just had.
Miami did it against Baltimore. No one expected that.
Yeah, that's true. You got Seattle next week. That's not the one there. Lions, Panthers, Bills.
That's Seattle.
I mean, there's not many wins in there, but there's a couple choices. We got the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're going to flip to some positives here. And my boy Andy Reid, who I still feel was rushed out of Philadelphia, and people can criticize that all they want.
14 years is a long time. I think the players just stopped listening to him.
Yeah, I think they stopped listening to him too, but I sure think that they would be interested in going back now. But it does go to show, that sometimes that whole the voice wanes thin argument is true. Because look how positive things are in Kansas City right now.
It's great.
Granted, they haven't played anyone that difficult. I mean, we're looking, they beat the Jaguars, they beat the Cowboys, beat the Eagles. I mean, they played the whole NFC East, and the NFC East is terrible. And then, they beat the Titans, the Raiders, the Texans. Texans is a pretty impressive win. No, the Browns and the Bills.
You would think that before the season, but the way the Texans have been playing, they're 2-6.
That's what I'm saying.
Or 2-5.
So, but I'm saying that's probably who you're looking at as their biggest win out of that list of teams. I would say the Texans are who we think is most dangerous. Maybe the Cowboys. But then I'm looking here, November 17th, they got at Denver. So I think... and
they played Denver...
They played Denver twice in 3 weeks with the Chargers sandwiched in between. So
that's a lot of divisional games.
We'll see. We'll see how good they are when we get to that. But it's impressive. You got to feel good for Andy Reid. You got to feel good for Jamal Charles and some of those guys, what they went through last year with the whole situation. It makes you feel bad for Romeo Crennel and his staff.
I always think Romeo Crennel is a great coach.
Yeah, it's always been one of those.
Great defensive coordinator.
Yeah, exactly right. It's always been, that whole argument, are you just a good coordinator? And it just seems that a lot of the Bill Belichick people, Charlie Weiss and Romeo Crennel being the two main examples.
Not good head coaches.
They're just not good head coaches. Charlie Weiss is struggling down there with the Jayhawks at the University of Kansas. Okay, so we have this quarterback issue with the Rams. We got Bradford out for the year, and there was just some rumors.
Some wild rumors.
And you heard these rumors too, right?
I have.
Yeah, of either Brett Favre or Tim Tebow coming back. I mean, now, who would you rather have, Justin? If you had to take one, and I'm not advocating.
If I had, I would not. I would choose neither.
And I'm not advocating that you do take one.
If I had to, I would take Tebow, just on the fact that he's young.
That he's not going to have a penis pic. That he's not going to, that he's not going to text a picture of his genitals to female employees on the team.
Well, that and he's not 42 years old.
44 years old.
The thing is with Tebow, okay, if anything, I'm getting a guy that's going to play his heart out.
This is fun. You're advocating for Tim Tebow. This is he's reaching a certain demographic, aren't we?
We're bringing a whole new bunch of listeners.
Yeah, well,
it's really funny. I really don't like Tim Tebow at all.
Well,
but if I'm looking at winning games, I'm looking at who's going to give me the better shot, a 44-year-old Brett Favre.
I like him as a person.
But Brett Favre, Brett Favre is one hit and he's his shoulders out. He's 44 years old. That's unheard of for a 44-year-old man to play in the NFL.
Yeah, but regardless, do you know who the 3 quarterbacks that are active on the St. Louis Rams roster are?
I mean, I feel bad for Jeff Fisher. That's all I got.
You got Kelly Clemens.
He's got the worst winning percentage in the NFL.
Who the Jets, if you remember, called back Brett Favre once already before, instead of having Kelly Clemens, who was on that team. You have Brady Quinn, who's just really struggled to ever get a hold.
He's a Charlie Weiss boy.
And then you have Austin Davis. Now, Austin Davis is in his second year out of Southern Mississippi, so he has Brett Favre roots. So regardless, knowing nothing else about him except looking at his picture, I'm simply going to say that on the pedigree of being from Southern Miss alone, that we should go with Austin Davis, and I'm going to become a new Austin Davis fan. Right now, I think that Austin Davis is
go for
the answer.
Underdogs.
You have to. Well, you have to, because you're right. Jeff Fisher is in a world of trouble. And it was a shame, because the Rams at the start of the year, can the Rams challenge St. Louis and... the Rams are St. Louis. Can the Rams challenge Seattle
and San
Francisco? You're getting all these S's in the NFC West. And this whole big thing with Darryl Richardson, who's really struggled to get off the ground as a running back.
Isaiah
P. It's just been a mess. And they got the Seahawks this weekend. You got Titans and Colts in the next 3 weeks. So it's going to be a struggle.